Thank you, Janie. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome Pastor John Biggs from Saved by Grace. Please stand if you like. Saved by Grace Lutheran Church.
Thank you for having me. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you in prayer knowing that you love us and that you are very much concerned about what goes on here today as the Nyecounty Commissioners seek to be stewards of the trust placed in them by the people. In Micah chapter 6, verse 8, your word tells us what you expect of us today, and you tell us this: the Lord has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Justice, kindness, humility. Lord, we confess our human frailty, and we pray to be delivered from taking up today's agenda out of a spirit of self-interest or partisan politics. Rather, by your Spirit, lead us today to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with our God. Grant each person wisdom in their thinking on the issues, grace in their attitudes toward one another, and above all, courage in their convictions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. All right, let's open this joint meeting of the Nye County Board of Commissioners at all. Who wants to do the pledge? How about you, Jamie? Your turn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Janie. Thank you, Pastor. All right, manager, please, number 2.
General public comment, up to 3-minute time limit. Public comment will be for all matters off the agenda. Action will not be taken on the matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item first.
All right, thank you. In Pahrump.
Karen Waldman, W-A-L-D-M-A-N. I'm requesting this to be part of the public record. There's a new sheriff in town at the White House. The Grant gravy train is getting reined in at all levels, which means all governments need to seriously get their fiscal houses in order. What is the amount of grant dollars that funds Nye County, and how much of this is for duplicated services or goes to nonprofits with no accountability? How much of our budget is more of a luxury than necessity? Could your current budget exist if all the grants suddenly stopped? Have you thought about that now since there's an impending freeze on funding? What would you cut? Have you even thought about what will need to be cut, or are you waiting until you try to pass another deficit budget here? Our own state has an over $300 million deficit budget. Do you expect to get money from the state to fund your budget if their own fiscal needs won't be met without severe cutting? When you feed at the trough of federal funds like ARPA, you're bound to have to reset your priorities because that was never going to be a continual slush fund coming your way. We are watching. Spending like there's no tomorrow is never a good plan, and you are all going to have to come up with ways to get our budget holes plugged now that the endless streams of money are trickling to a stop. And don't expect to get a sympathetic reception from the taxpayers here who've been watching and warning you of your mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Janie, do we have, or Sam, whoever's doing this, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, it's Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hello. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Good morning, everybody. Beth Borisevich, B-O-R-Y-S-E-W-I-C-H. On January the 22nd, we talked about some safety issues with houses that had burned down. And the board indicated that they would erect a fence at 4841 Stoneham in the Artesia area. This didn't happen, even though Ms. Strickland said that it would happen, the rest of the board agreed. Since you indicated it would be taken care of, we all thought it was going to be. I think the citizens are a little upset out there because it's still a safety hazard and absolutely nothing has happened. You know, a lot of people say that things aren't getting taken care of. And this is kind of like one of the things, you know, we ask something, you say you're going to do it, and then absolutely nothing happens. And it's like crickets sitting there, you know, in the field. We have no idea what's going on. There's another house that burned down on Mallard, and that's in the same situation. It's a safety hazard. Who follows up on these issues? Is it code compliance? If it's code compliance, and do they have like a list of all these they go check on and they report to somebody? We need to start being accountable for what we do in our town. Thanks.
Thank you, Beth. In Pahrump?
Tina Von Kuglen, B-O-N-D-K-U-G. Sorry.
On the mic. Thank you.
B-O-N-D-K-U-G-L-I-N. Good morning, County Commissioners. At the last meeting, I read a statement regarding policy and procedure for getting a business license in the town of Pahrump, which I still don't have mine. It's going on 5 months since I applied and paid for it. My statement today will be about the First Amendment. What is the First Amendment? In simple terms, the original writing of the Constitution says that Congress cannot infringe with the First Amendment right to free speech and the press. This has long since been interpreted by the Supreme Court to mean that all American speech cannot be infringed upon by any branch or section of the federal, state, or local governments. I bring this to your attention today because your Planning, Building, and Code Compliance Department is infringing upon many Nyecounty citizens' First Amendment rights. After speaking to others that applied for licenses or have already gone through the process, many of us were ordered by the Planning, Building, and Code Compliance to remove advertisements, post on social media, and take down websites. I find this very disturbing that any government agency would try to tell anyone what they can and can't say, post, or share on the internet. Most companies advertise for weeks, months, sometimes years before opening. It's common practice in the business world to get the word out about an upcoming business. I would hate to see a class action lawsuit against any government entity over the First Amendment, a staple in our country, something that brings us all together, and something that allows the United States to stand out above all others. I understand that the county has a job to do, but when you infringe with the First Amendment, you have stepped over the line. If the county has all this time to stalk people on social media and the internet, getting my license shouldn't take 5 months. I believe this brings us back to the procedure for applying for anything in this town. Whether it's for permits, licenses, or anything else, policy and procedure needs to change. On another note, I emailed the whole board on January 16th regarding what I have been going through with the county since 2022. The only reason I was on this radar was a complaint filed by Redmond Fencing over my sending customers to Morales Construction. When companies like these are made, the person making the complaint should understand what happens when and if these citations go to court. The person getting the citation has a right to ask for a trial, just like I did when I received my citation. As an American has the right to address their accusers, it is an unfair practice that the county has been using against people that don't know or understand that they have rights when receiving these citations. At this time, I can give you 3 examples of women that filed complaints with the county against each other, and their businesses were closed or are under investigation just because they were mad at each other. This is another county procedure that needs to change. I asked Albert and Mark directly about places that look worse than the dump, and they told me they didn't care about those, that they only worried about the ones that are brought to their attention by complaints. The county fights against any progress or growth in this town, but won't lift a finger to clean up the hazardous homes, yards, or lots. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. She was right on the nose. How about in Tonopah, please?
Joseph Grace, Launchpad Space Technologies.
Can you please
Hi,
spell
everyone.
can you please spell your last name, Joe?
Grace, G-R-A-C-E.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give everybody an update about the project we're trying to work on here in Tonopah at the airport. So, to recap briefly, my company is working on building an aerospace test facility here in Tonopah, specifically on the airport property. A while ago, and we've already gone through the process of getting a development agreement and a lease and everything together for the county. Everybody's been really supportive. I just wanted to let folks know that we're going through an FAA approval process. It's very likely that in the near term, we're likely going to be looking at some private land to basically build kind of a mini little demonstrator facility where we can test integration of our various systems and kind of get things going. That will be here in Tonopah on some private land nearby. We're talking to a few different people. How long it's going to take to kind of get ground broken at the airport, I think, is kind of in the FAA's hands at this point. It's very likely that we're going to be going through some form of NEPA process. I just wanted to keep the county up to date. Everybody's been really supportive, and we're working closely with Public Works to make sure we're dotting all I's, crossing all T's. And I also just wanted to extend a thanks to the county and everybody who's been holding my hand through this process. My first time dealing with all this. So thanks a lot to everybody.
Thank you for that update, and we can't wait to see what you guys bring forward. Anybody on the phone, Sam?
Yes, Chair. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hello, good morning. This is Caroline Logue, L-O-G-U-E. I'd like my comment submitted for public records. My comment is for all the commissioners, but specifically for Commissioner Bain and Chairman Boscovich. You have both been appointed just recently to be liaisons to the Pahrump Community Library Board of Directors. My concern is the fact that the library has been closed since December 2024 and isn't projected to open at least until April, and it might even be longer than that. And the closure is concerning interior upgrades, and the library website doesn't show any information as to the progress of what's going on, as to the cost. The library board has chosen to not have meetings, which seems to me that they are closing themselves off to any public scrutiny. Luckily, the staff has been working and established a system where the public is able to at least request books. What I have been concerned about is the legality of the board not meeting. The board decided to not hold monthly meetings, even if they could have relocated to another venue in order to hold their meetings. They have been not reporting on the status of the upgrades, nor performing their fiduciary responsibilities by providing any financial reports. They choose not to be guided by the laws and regulations. So I request that the liaisons to the board work with the district attorney, who has a staff member who attended every previous meeting, to convene an audit into how the public taxpayer money is being spent. And if the library board of directors have broken any open meeting laws, library bylaws, or NRS requirements that they have sworn to uphold. So thank you. I look forward to a report or having the board of directors of the library brought in front of you to explain to you and us what exactly is happening there at the library, with all their unwillingness to be open about what is going on behind those closed doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Logue. In Pahrump, please.
Diane Southworth, Southworth. Couple of things. Number one, it comes back to the housing issue that we have here in this town. It appears that most of the housing is going to very expensive homes that the average working family can't afford. Rents have gone up through the roof with no apparent reason other than they were just greedy. I've had people tell me their rents have gone up $200 and $300 in a month for no apparent reason. We need workforce style housing. This does not always mean tiny homes. This does not always mean, but 9 to maybe 1,200 square feet homes for small families, etc. It appears that it is very difficult to get anything through the Planning Commission on anything, and especially anything like that, but they're more than willing to add several hundred homes at a time for bigger, more elaborate homes. So if we want to be just a bedroom community to Vegas and a retirement center, that's what we're going to be. If you want Pahrump to be, you have to have a certain amount of growth in Pahrump, but it needs to be structured growth. And it needs to be done with consideration. So it's something that you as commissioners need to look into and see what needs to be changed, as well as the Planning Commission. And one last thing, there's 9,000 Walmart customers, Walmart employees, and 18,000 Amazon employees in this state that are on Medicaid. With the companies that big and that wealthy, I think that is the real shocker. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Anybody on the phone, Sam?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. Erica Gerling here, Gerling, and a very blessed free baby today. Here, if you have any questions for us, I'm here to answer. Thank you. Have a great meeting.
Thanks, Erica. In Pahrump, please. Oop, I think you got to hit the button there.
Ron Mortensen, Mortinson. At the last commission meeting I was here, and shortly after I got done speaking, Commissioner Gabor brought up the apparent fact that Brett Wagner had gone on vacation and his office had purchased some uniforms and badges, and Commissioner Gabor said that they were not allowed to be purchasing those things. So I went ahead and I submitted a public records request trying to get more details like the money spent, time that was done, so on and so forth. And I haven't heard anything on that back yet, but I would also like to add one more question to that. If these things are not allowed to be actually had by code enforcement, I'd like to know how and when they actually get destroyed and disposed of. Because if they're not allowed to have them, they need to be destroyed and disposed of. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hello, Commissioners. Michael David Garcia, Garcia. And for the record, I would like my comments also entered into the record. Basically, I want to start off by giving thanks and praise. It's been simply because of God's trust I've made it through all this corruption and fraud through our county and department heads. I think we really need to concentrate on getting to the bottom of that. You know, council really needs to be aware of age, gender, and race when it comes to the usurpation of due process of law, which is actually enshrined in the 5th and 14th Amendment. But I'm curious, as a slave, since y'all executed my First Amendment rights on the other side of the tracks here in town, which happens to be in Nyecounty as well, is that a tax? Is it federal income? I'm trying to figure out what that is, because those are federal dollars that are being used to deprive us of liberty. The FOIA request is a nightmare. All we have to do is FOIA request internal affairs. You'll start seeing the dots. When these clerks for these judges, they promote them to county managers. We went through this with our last county manager. He oversaw everything. He was part of it, and nobody stood up. You know, now we're going through. I want to say a special prayer for Carlos Massey, who handles probate rape. He's out of Cook County in Illinois. We've been putting it on a federal and county level as well. Certain counties only have 8, like the state of Kentucky. I do know an advocate that grew up with the sheriff in the same town that executed the judge in chambers. And we do have commissioners that I've seen in chambers with Judge LaFleur. And I'm curious about those conversations as well. So I want to know everything. I'm a helicopter father. I'm at the water rock, and I am fatherless when it comes to my rights. And I'm not stopping. The spirit is always over the matter. Okay? The Bill of Rights is all about the DEI, Constitutional Black Caucus is over. and we see it. It's time to redneckinize. You know, somebody needs to dig. You're self-insured. Okay, we need to have an avenue to meet together. I don't need to embarrass our commissioners on a nationwide on how y'all are inept to handle your oath of office. You know, it's time to step up. You're dealing with dirty council, dirty judges, and dirty county officials. Okay, let's redneckinize. We need a constitutional sheriff. We don't have that. We have #Metro policy where the Ohio versus Terry overweighs the right to travel, 1867 Nevada. Every one of y'all should be ashamed when it comes to that. Nobody can justify it. We have a right. We, the people, all the data belongs to us.
Thank you,
It's
Mr.
time
Garcia.
to let it go.
Sam, we got anybody on the phone?
No, Chair.
In Pahrump, please.
Good morning. Is this on?
Yep.
My name's George Golson. That's G-H-O-L-S-O-N. And the reason I'm here today is I represent the Timbisha Shoshone tribe. I'm on the tribal council for the Timbisha Shoshone tribe. And we have land out at Scotty's Junction. And that's a 70-mile-an-hour road. And we all know very few people do 70 miles an hour there. But there's no turnouts. And we're building a community. We received $700,000 from the governor from the state of Nevada, and we put 5 houses out there. So the traffic entering and exiting the freeway there, or the highway, is going to increase. And we received a notice from NDOT that they have a grant that we could possibly apply for. And I also saw in the newspaper several months ago, quite a while ago now, that there was some money that was designated for tribes in Nyecounty that was transferred over to be used somewhere else. But we would be interested in being able to use some of that funding to build a turnout and a turning lane for that area, because we're going to be putting more houses there. We're going to be doing some more economic development. We're looking at campgrounds and other things that would be used as you enter the park to go to Scotty's Castle. So I don't know what the process is, but I will email you guys the information, specifics on where it's located. It's right there across from where the Shady Lady is. Just north of that, there's a little road that turns off. And even I was over there yesterday, and boy, howdy, it's super dangerous. And there's no double yellow lines, so you could turn out to pass, and somebody could be coming out to enter the highway. So it's a real hazardous area. And we're looking to at least start off with double yellow lines. We've talked with NDOT about that. They're open to that. But like everybody else in the country, we're worried about funding and finding funding to be able to do that. But I would look forward. We're also in Nyecounty. We work very closely with the sheriff and Nyecounty commissioners over there. We have a great relationship, and we want to foster that similar relationship with Nyecounty. I think we're one of 2 tribes that are in Nyecounty. So we look forward to getting to know you better and working hand in hand on some of these issues. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming here. Also, reach out to Stephanie Elliott, who is our grants manager. Thank you. Sam, do you have anybody on the phone?
No, Chair.
All right, seeing and hearing no other public comment, we're going to close that out and go to item 3, please.
Item number 3, Commissioner Manager comments. This item is limited to announcements, brief discussions of public comments, correction of factual inaccuracies, direction of staff, or topics proposed for future board meetings. Lengthy deliberation of topics not on the agenda is prohibited by the Nevada open meeting law.
Thank you for that. And welcome in Tonopah. Commissioner Jabor, you have anything?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'm good at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Koenig.
Good morning, everybody. At this time, I'm better than good, so thanks for asking.
All right, that's pretty good. Commissioner Bain gives me the wave. Commissioner Strickland.
I just have one thing, and good morning to everyone. We do have a special meeting coming up for the Board of County Commissioners on the 13th. It's going to start at 11 a.m. It'll be here in Chambers, and it'll be the audit will be reviewed so that we can send it forward to DTAX.
Good times.
Thank you. Hope you, if you have interested in our budget and our operating, this is the time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. The only thing I have, welcome everybody, staff, attendees, and commissioners. I appreciate everybody tuning in and being a part of it. The only thing I will comment on is Diane's comment on attainable housing or workforce housing. We met recently, the commissioners met with our DC lobbyists, and that was one of my requests to them is to see if there's any potential funding. And I don't mean low-income housing, but housing that people who, like most of us, work for a living can afford.
Workforce housing.
Workforce housing, yes. So that's all I have. Any managers? Or directors?
Hi, Arnold Knightley, Public Communications Manager. I also oversee public records. I just wanted to address that one gentleman's comments. We did get the records request on Thursday, the 30th, and we have it out to the departments to get him the answers he's asking for. You know, we've had, just to update overall that department, we had over 870 public record requests handled last year that came through our department. We had 77 in January, and we've had about 16 or 17 since he put his in. So we work diligently. We're always compliant. We respond within the law, and I just want to make that known. So he should be hearing from us soon.
Thank you, Arnold. If there's no one else, let's move on to number 4, please.
Item number 4, approval of the agenda for the February 4th, 2025. The only thing that we will be removing is item number 5 on page 1.
Thank you. Is Tom or Bo? Let's do it. Let's do number 6.
Item number 6 for possible action, discussion and deliberation regarding the general road report by Public Works Director on general road maintenance, gravel road maintenance, asphalt patching, weed mowing, and direction regarding public works projects.
Morning, Bo.
Good morning, everyone. Bo Gott, G-O-T-T, Assistant Public Works Director. All right. So Public Works received 54 online maintenance requests during the month of January. Last year at this time, we received 103. So hopefully this is a sign of improvement from the amount of patching and the chip seal done over the last year. And this year we plan on doing as much as possible within the budget to gain even more ground. Excuse me. In the Northern District, gravel road maintenance continues, but is slightly behind in certain areas due to staff need at the Round Mount landfill and working on projects in Tonopah. There have been requests that we haven't got to. We are trying, but we have to pull off of one area to do a request, then that puts us behind on another section to complete the full loop. So we are receiving requests and logging them, but just haven't been able to get to them. Last weekend, we had to get the snow plows out for the first time since last winter, which seems late in the season. So it'll be interesting to see how long or short this winter may be. From a road point of view, we've been fortunate to have limited rain and runoff from the mountains, which allowed us to concentrate on the towns a bit more, which are in need of a lot of work. In the Central District, the gravel road maintenance route around Beatty was finished last month, and the crew will move into the Amargosa Valley. They are also durapatching in Amargosa Valley and has some trees to be trimmed on the schedule. The Southern District has been crack sealing. They started on the north end of Blag and worked all the way to Gamebird over the month. They went into Mountain Falls and crack sealed the oldest neighborhood in the community in preparation for a slurry seal, which will happen in a few months. We're going to rotate between crack sealing and durapatching over the next couple months. We don't want to concentrate on just one and fall behind on the other process. We continue to have asphalt patching crews out daily. Thousand Air between Pahrump Valley Boulevard and Homestead is in need of patching almost every day or every other day. We have plans of an overlay to be done this year, along with sections of Basin and Mesquite west of Leslie. Mowers have been out all around town. We're trying to get the weeds down ahead of doing a lot of ditch work that will be coming up. A few additional projects the road crews will be working on this year are installing solar lights at intersections throughout the county, working on drainage issues, and a lot of shouldering and ditch work. That's all I have for the road report. Here for any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair.
Go right ahead, Commissioner.
Would you like to turn it over, sir?
Yes, let's turn it over to the chair.
Thank you.
RTC.
Thank you.
Well, what a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bo. Any of the commissioners have any questions for our Assistant Director, please?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Thank you.
Bo, you mentioned solar lights at intersections. What kind of solar lights? Fill me in, please, because I hadn't heard this one before.
Oh, so last year and the year before, we installed, I think around 8 lights throughout the town. They're solar powered, 20-foot tall pole lights. We still have, I think, about 25 sitting in the yard ready to be installed. So it's a matter of just digging a hole, installing them. I got a list of intersections that are just really dark at night that don't have current lighting from either from solar lights or from Valley Electric lights. So I can send you over a list, Commissioner, and we can look it over. I'll show you the intersections that we plan on doing this year.
Please do that. I'm interested in knowing where we're going to put lights. I like it dark at night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Bo, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's not just in Pahrump. There were some that were assigned to the rest of some in Amargosa, Beatty, Round Mountain, Tonopah, et cetera. Is that right?
Yes, correct. All throughout the county.
Thank you. Have any been installed throughout the county besides in Pahrump? Or are they part of the 25?
No, we have not installed any outside of the Pahrump area. Last year we went to Beatty and Tonopah to get recommendations for locations. We have the locations in mind, and we just haven't got to install them yet.
Right. Okay, if you could, if you don't mind, just email all the commissioners, even where the consideration by the different towns, the different areas, the boards, what they've approved and what's going to be decided on, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners in Pahrump?
May I be recognized very briefly?
Commissioner Bain?
Thank you. Just because I'm trying to learn some of these departments that operate pretty autonomously from us, are there any plans, for example, was this something that it could be found, or is this something that your department has just been working on? Was it like, did you guys just say today? I'm just curious. I'm not upset about it. I just wanted to know, is this something that you had just put up forward, or was this something that this board voted on previously? Do you know?
I don't know, because the purchase of the lights happened prior to me taking the.
And it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to. I think the public would gain from understanding how it works too.
Tom Bowling, BOLLING. This was all brought to us through the RTC.
Okay.
RTC requested it, approved
go to
it,
you.
and everything has gone through that body, which is ultimately responsible for, their part of the budget and stuff like that.
Okay, then that's good. And there's no, and just for my own information, you don't have any plans, or no one's exploring or looking into any kind of red light cameras or speed cameras? Has that come across your desk from anyone in any part of county government ever?
There has been requests for that, and then whenever I bring up
Who requested that?
Some of the constituents.
Okay, well, other than constituents, anyone who has a paycheck from the county? Okay, thank you, sir.
And that would be handled through the sheriff's department anyways, not through us. If they requested for us to for permission to put up, then yeah, we would.
If that request comes along, is there a way for us to be notified so that I can put something together to ban that? Yeah?
I will ask questions.
Thank you. Please let me know if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director and Assistant Director. Thank you, Commissioner Bain. Commissioner Strickland, Commissioner Boswich.
Thank you, Chair Jabor. I was wanting to ask, and I could have asked this at another independently. We have that game bird, Highway 160, traveling west on the north side. We have that huge bar ditch that our last major rainstorm, we ended up with a car under a bridge that we have built. And so that has a great deal of debris in it. And I know you've been great, you guys have been out doing the mowing, but have you considered how you're going to take care of all of that that's compiled in that ditch now?
We have thought about it, and our best plan currently is, because we have to build up the lots that are on the backside of it, because the erosion actually eroded into the lots, which was a direct effect from that wash itself from that large rainstorm that we got. So we have to build that back up, and we're going to take material from another place and put it back in that ditch in order to reestablish the ditch. Again, it's one of those projects on our delayed projects.
I know. If you were a farmer, you would burn that.
Yes.
If you had help from the fire department, could you do that? I'd love for you guys to talk about that, because that would seem, now it's gone.
Yeah.
And it'll go quick, don't get me wrong, but in the normal world, that's what you do, so you can not have the obstruction there. So thank you for that consideration, you guys.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Blaskovich.
I have nothing, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good questions. Let's open it up. Don't go too far, please, gentlemen. Let's open it up to public comment, please. Is anybody in Pahrump?
No, sir.
Anybody? Thank you. Anybody on the phone, please, Sam?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Erica Gerling, Gerling. Well, Commissioner Jabbour asked and Bo answered my question, but I did want to think, did Public Works receive a list of recommendations from Beatty? If they could check and let me know about that, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Is there anybody else on the phone, please, Sam?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Beth Borisevich, Borysevich. I'm kind of curious how the road department, that I'm assuming reports to somebody, can just unilaterally go out and put in solar lights in areas of the various towns here in Nyecounty. I mean, a lot of people moved here for the dark skies, and that's one of the things that we were pushing here in the town of Pahrump. Now, I know we don't have a town board, and I don't know if the commissioners for Nyecounty actually are interested in this. However, I'm really concerned that you're just going to go and put lights out. Have the towns been notified that, you know what, guess what, at the end of your street, there's going to be a street light? I mean, you know, somebody needs to start talking about what's happening. In addition, the one thing about the speeding lights or the red camera lights, I think that's illegal here in the state of Nevada. I'll look it up and let you know, Commissioner Bain, but I think that's illegal. But I'm highly concerned that, you know, we're going to put up solar lights in the darkest part of Nyecounty without anybody knowing that they're going out except the commissioners. It's ridiculous, and you guys need to start letting people know what's happening. Thanks.
Thank you, Beth. Is there anybody else on the phone, please, Sam?
No, Chair.
Is there anybody in Pahrump?
No, sir.
Nobody here in Tonopah. We shall close public comment. Director Bowling, did you want to answer any of the questions, please? If you don't, I will.
Yes. The solar lights, these are 2 years in the making. The first ones that we installed in Pahrump were a little over 2.5 years ago. And all of these are dark sky compliant solar lights. So we first received a list from each one of the towns through their town board or town advisory board of where they would like to have these lights put. And then last year we updated the list again because we thought we were going to be able to install them last year. We didn't get to it. So this year we will definitely go back to the town boards, town advisory boards, and make sure that they are still good with the list that they have prior to us going and installing these lights.
Yes, thank you, Director. And I'll also add, add to that. It's not arbitrarily decided on where it'll go, and a lot of it had to do with safety by, as Bo had mentioned, that constituents had called. There were concerns, and just that, because of the totally dark areas at intersections that were noted as dangerous, those were taken into consideration. There were talks and discussions at different boards, and in regards to Beatty, I don't recall. Of course, that's one of Erica, the chair of the Beatty Advisory Board, her concerns, Tom. So if you and Bo can get back to her and see if there was a list of different areas in Beatty. I know that Beatty did come before us with a proposal to have lights, not solar lights, but to have lights. And one of the approvals that we had made was for Revert Park. So as you first enter Beatty from the Pahrump area, as you're driving north on the left-hand side, Revert Park, it's a very nice park. We did approve lighting for that area, and I don't know if that was ever put in, but that's something that the town will take care of. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Tom, did you have anything else? Did Bo have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. As you mentioned, 2 years in the making. It's not that we kept it a secret. I have been off the RTC for 2 years now, but I do remember the minutes, and Commissioner Koenig is back on the RTC. He's been on the RTC for the past few years, and so we are all acclimating back to, and I appreciate you and Bo for staying on top of past decisions that were approved.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will close this item and turn it back over to our chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Tom and Bo. Thanks, guys. Let's knock out number 7, please.
Item number 7, consent agenda items. These are items that staff recommends for approval. The board reserves the right to move any consent agenda item to the regular segment of the agenda should issues arise that need to be addressed. Discussion of any item for the consent agenda items that needs review before a decision is made.
Motion to
This
approve.
is, sorry, 7.1 through 7.3.
Sorry.
Thank you, Manager.
Sorry, Manager. Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Then we'll do public.
Yes. No second?
No second?
Second.
A motion and a second on the floor. Let's do public comment, please. In Pahrump.
Karen Waldman, WALDMAN. I'm requesting this to be part of the public record. In the October 2023 property auction for non-payment of taxes, there were 7 properties. In the November 2023 property auction, there were 3. February-March 2024 property auction, there were 27. March to April 2024 property auction, there were 143. In the most recent January 2025 property auction, there were 91 submitted and 82 sold. Could it possibly be that actions taken by this board are somehow causing the value of property to drop? In just a little over a year, we've gone from 3 properties getting auctioned to 90. The total from October 2023 to January 2025, which is 16 months, is 262 properties. That's a lot of lost streams. What would cause so many property owners to give up their investment to have their properties auctioned off for pennies on the dollar, like the one taken by the county at the last meeting that originally sold for $45,000 and after dropping in value ended up with the last amount paid for the property around $2,700 until the taxes lapsed and the county took the land for public purpose? If your goal is to create a vibrant town with the citizens and property taxpayers secure that you have their best interests in mind, I'd like to suggest that you look inward to see if this board is responsible for any of this increase of tax forfeitures. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Anybody on the phone, Sam?
No, Chair.
That was a cough. Good. Thank you for that. Anybody in Tonopah?
Just me, Chair, to ask, has it started to rain in Pahrump?
Rain? Rain? It's beautiful out.
We have green skies from
I
here
see
in
it
Tonopah
behind
County.
you
That's moss.
Yes. Moss.
on the screen. It's weird.
All right, we're going to close public comment. Commissioners? Did we already finish that?
We did.
Let's call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Boscovich is aye. That is 5.
Where's aye?
That is 5.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
We have a heck of a delay between here and there.
Well, it is a ways. Let's skip and do number 12, please. That'll be easy, and I assume Brian's probably up there.
Item 12 for possible action, discussion, and deliberation to A, determine that 3 barristers' bookcases are no longer required for public use, and B, determine it is in the best interest to donate the bookcases to the Friends of the Belmont Courthouse.
Thank you for that. Brian, are you up there? I'm sorry, DA?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yep, I appreciate that. As you can see from the photographs, we found a treasure trove of stuff that has been stored here. These are actually fairly period appropriate type of barrister bookcases. And so these have been in storage, gosh knows how long. Some of them are broken, but we think we can take the parts and really repair them and put them back into shape. And really what the proposal is that we're starting to put items into the Belmont Courthouse. And one of the things that we really would like to, of course, obviously interest of mine, is to put these into the DA's office, the old DA's office in Belmont. We've also, I just want to note that the Becko family has generously donated a roll-top desk that belonged to Judge Becko. It's always interesting he's called Judge Becko, but he spent many decades as the Nyecounty District Attorney. I think he's actually the longest-serving Nyecounty District Attorney. So he's very much of an icon in this arena. And so what we'd like to do is put the roll-top desk that the family's donated with these barrister bookcases. We actually have some old statutes and legislative materials that go from that period of time when Belmont was in the county seat. And because the other thing I wanted to point out is that Tascarati, who's a very iconic Nevada historical figure, former governor, senator for many years. He was the district attorney in Nye County, following Jim Butler. Oddly enough, that Jim Butler started as a Nye County DA. And so Tascarati is a very iconic person. He's got some amazing writings. And one of his writings actually talks about his desk being in the corner, and he's looking out the window down the road, and you can see the entrance into Pahrump from his office, and it is absolutely a beautiful, Belmont, absolutely beautiful view looking down. And so we're thinking about, putting, that portion of it when he talks about that and frame it there. And so when people come into the courthouse, they can actually stand there and look down that view that he saw, from the DA's office. So we think this would just be a great addition to what we're trying to do to bring some life back to what I think is an amazing building.
Thank you, DA.
Motion to approve, Chair.
Thank you for that. I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. We got 2 seconds. Let's open this up for public comment, please. Is there any comment on the phone?
No, Chair.
We're seeing none, hearing none. We're going to close public comment.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, go right ahead.
Sorry, we had a hand raised at the last second.
Okay.
The
Let's
caller is
open it back
unmuted.
up.
Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Michael David Garcia, Garcia. I just had a quick note. If the council still wants to refer to himself as a they, he, or we, maybe he should declare if he's got a mouse in his pocket or who the other half of the we is. Thank you.
I have no idea what that has to do with the price of watermelon in Guam, but let's move on. Did we close public again. Yes. Is there any commissioner
No.
comments? No? All right. Let's call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Or is aye?
Boscovich, aye. Moving
We
on.
hear from the mouse.
Yeah. Let's take a 5-minute comfort break.
I'd like to speak to you, Council, with Stuart Little, please.
Okay, guys, are we ready?
Where are you going to go, Chair?
Let's do number 10, please.
Item number 10, for possible action, discussion and deliberation regarding a program funding application from Beatty Health and Welfare, Inc. for the Beatty Clinic funding in the amount of $9,600 to be funded from 10285 Health Clinics.
Thank you for that. Who's speaking on this one?
Chair, this is Sam. Lorena was going to speak on it, but she's not returned yet. She's with the DA, so I was hoping that maybe Helen could give some information about this.
Okay. Comptroller.
So we've been paying out of the health clinics fund to this organization to basically pay for the operating costs of the Beatty Health and Clinic in Beatty, and we've been paying them this amount for years, like decades. But with our formalization of financial assistance request from Nyecounty, we do now vet and research and go through an approval process for even the legacy type assistance that the county does give. So that's why it's before you today. And I know Sam and Lorena actually oversees the approval process for this.
Thank you for that. Commissioners, do we have any questions before I open public? All right, Sam, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Okay, must be an issue with that. Should I close it then? Anybody else, Sam?
No, Chair.
All right, we're going to close public comment. Commissioners, you got anything?
No.
Or you got this?
Yes, motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion,
Second.
got a motion in 2 seconds. If there's nothing else, let's call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Koenig's aye.
Jabor's aye.
Boscovich, aye, 5-0. Thank you for that. Let's do number 8, Ian's item.
You'll be recognized.
Yes.
I wanted to.
You want manager to read it first?
Yes, please, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, manager.
Item number 8, for possible action, discussion and deliberation to A, approve, amend and approve, or reject amendments to the Nyecounty Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure, and B, adopt, amend and adopt, or reject Nyecounty Resolution Number 2025-06, a resolution amending the Nyecounty Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Commissioner Bates.
Thank you. I just wanted to explain a little bit about what this is. I wrote a lot about it in the item, and I included 3 drafts. And basically what I think people need to know, and I don't know if it's known, I certainly didn't know it until I read the rules, and that is that there's one person in both of these rooms who can guarantee that items are on this agenda for us to vote on. And that person's not out there, and they're not up here, and they're not in Tonopah right now, they're not over here. It's this gentleman right here. And it's just not speaking to him, it's to the position. There is somewhat vague, I would consider vague, wording that says that things may be put on the agenda, but I'm going to read the actual rule that I'm trying to eliminate, and that is, items for the agenda for any regular meeting of the board may be included on the agenda only with the approval of the county manager. And that's all that really, for me, prompted me to do this. Only with the approval of the county manager. What that does, other than just the accountability of making us not accountable for what it is we vote on, but that puts that onto a person who's not elected. Now, in the event that there's a minority position on this commission, with the rules the way they are, it's such that that minority voice can be silenced. Because the only recourse for a county manager that does not put something on the agenda that is being requested by an elected person, maybe a citizen requested it, maybe because we have a republic and we delegate those decisions. We don't have mob rule, we don't have a democracy, we have a republic that delegates decisions to people sitting up here. In the event that someone who's in the minority position goes and asks the position of county manager, and that position of county manager does not want that on the agenda, the only recourse is to either recall the county manager or to have some kind of a vote that instructs. And of course, you won't be able to have the votes if you're truly in that minority position. Now, I can see someone asking, well, if you're in the minority, it's not going to get passed. And that's true. I mean, that's a very good point. But if we're going to start governing where minority voices are not heard and it's not even up for consideration, then I would say we've already lost the battle before we start to fight it. I have not seen that happen here, but I don't know if it's happened. And I don't think anyone up here, or probably anywhere, can really truly say that that has never happened here. And so all I'm trying to do is correct that. So what I did was I put 3 drafts together. The first draft is a copy of the Clark County rules, which are surprisingly good. They do 2 things that I find very interesting. One, they take the process of talking about what may be on a future agenda and it opens it up here for people to hear what we're saying. So it's no longer something someone types up like I typed this up and brought it forward. It's something that everyone would hear, and then that's then decided on a future meeting. The other thing that I thought was interesting in Clark County is I'm guessing there was some friction between the district attorney and this body. I do not like the way that the Nevada rules are such that the district attorney and the relationship between the district attorney and the county commissioners, I don't like it because it's sort of a check. It's grown into, in my opinion, a check by the DA onto this board, which I think is very dangerous. But I'm not going to rewrite the Constitution. I don't think anyone else up here is the position, ability to do that. So the reason why I'm saying that is that the Clark County rules have a reference to a legal review process that I didn't see in their rules. It says if the DA has no problems with this in 30 days, then it's deemed acceptable by the DA. And I'm guessing at some point, maybe 60 years ago, maybe last decade, I don't know, that Clark County had a situation where the DA would sort of veto something by saying, well, this doesn't pass legal muster. And if you read the rules, it's interesting because it doesn't say that the DA has the power to do that. It says the DA will act as the attorney for the county. So we could talk about this for a long time, but I wanted to explain why I put that number 1 draft in there. That would be all of the things that I would recommend. And for transparency purposes, I wanted everyone who's able to print this and wanted to know where my mind is at, what I think would be something to discuss. The draft number 2 is just the language for what I had said about having debates about what's going to be on a future agenda. The draft 3 is simpler, and it's something that I'm going to propose possibly we adopt here. The reason is that I think that it may be too confusing for drafts 1 or 2, but I was prepared in the event that there was some kind of objection to changing these rules at all, that if we have that in the agenda, then you could say, well, it's already something that another county has embraced, so there can't be a legal objection, at least by the state law. So that's why number 1 and number 2 are on this agenda. These are just things that I'm proposing because I think that moving forward, this is not a reflection of the current DA, the current county manager, anyone up here, anything I've heard. But looking at this, I see a risk, and I talk about risk a lot. And I think moving forward with the separation of powers and the way that the relationship is between strong individuals who may come into the position of sheriff or DA, and we've seen a lot of this here in this community. And what I'm trying to do is sort of level that out and put the powers back where they should be. And I believe that the power to hear what it is we discuss should rest with these people that everyone out there and everyone watching this elects. I don't think having an unelected bureaucrat have the ultimate decision on what we talk about is something that's good for this community, for this county. And I've never heard of any jurisdiction in the country that is hostage by an unelected bureaucrat that decides what an elected body votes on. So what I would propose and I hope there's support for it, but I think the simplest way to do this is to propose an adoption of draft 3. And what that does is it's a more, I just typed it up, and I don't think there's a legal problem with it. All it says is that any commissioner can place something on the agenda. So if there are 4 commissioners up here that feel one way and one that's in the minority, those 4 cannot prevent that one from putting something on the agenda. It still leaves intact the county manager preparing. And as far as having too many items on the agenda or too few, that's something that, again, if these meetings are long, you have the ability to vote these people out, or we have procedural things we can do here. And I think there's a rule that says it can't go beyond a certain time. So I don't think that any of these things are going to be weaponized, because it's already in there where these things could be weaponized, but just by the county manager. I suppose if we're going to have the agenda weaponized, which I haven't seen here, then I would rather it be weaponized by someone who's elected, who we can have a say on, than be weaponized by an unelected bureaucrat who most people don't even know who they are. And that's my concern. So the draft 3 that I would like to see adopted by this board as far as rules would only allow commissioners to place things on the agenda, and it would not provide for a way that a majority of commissioners or anyone can take anything off the agenda. So in the event that there's a citizen that goes to a commissioner, under the current rules, if a citizen goes to a commissioner and says, I'd like this on there, and the commissioner writes it up, and the county manager decides, well, I don't know if this is a good idea. Current rules, there is nothing other than possibly a vote of this board, and I don't know how that would work or if that would even happen. But there is nothing that can be done without the approval of the county manager. Under this change, any commissioner could take a citizen action, put it on the agenda, and this way what would happen is there are a lot of things that come before us, tax increases, other things that I know people have come to me, and I know if you're watching this, you're thinking this, because I have. Why are we discussing tax increases? Why are we contemplating this if I voted for all these Republicans that don't want tax increases? Why is it there? And under the current rules, it allows us to hide and say, well, yeah, golly, I don't know. The director of widgets put that on there. So the widget department wants a tax hike, and here we are talking about the tax hike. Under this rule change, if there's a tax increase or a fee increase or a fine increase or any action that does anything, it's going to be sponsored by an elected person. So in the event that anyone watching this who's not elected or not part of county government, it will be accountability for that person and pure transparency so that no one on this board can go back to their district and say, well, I didn't know that was going to be on there, or I wasn't aware. Every one of us can't do that, that is. 4 of us could. But not every single person could go back to their district and say, well, I was blindsided by that. I had no idea that was on there, because someone will have taken ownership of that. And how this works, practically speaking, it's not in here as any kind of any process. And this is more for staff, what I'm saying now, because a lot people and citizens don't really know how this works. It would just be a matter of if the Department of Widgets wants to raise taxes on widgets, then they would have to get a sponsor. They'd have to find someone up here, and someone up here would just call the county manager. Okay, yep, that's fine. I'll go ahead and tag my name on that. That's fine. Then the public knows who put that up there. And I would suggest that if any department cannot find one sponsor, they're probably not going to get a vote. And if they can't get a vote, why are we sitting here talking about something for an hour with presentations? So what this does is it holds the elected officials more accountable to the people, which I'm very passionate about. In this way, anything you see on that agenda, you know who you can ask about why it's up there. So I don't know about co-sponsors. I would like to see that so that it does take heat off and it doesn't necessarily, I don't see why you couldn't have co-sponsors. If something's on there and we all decided it's something we were all for, then you would see all commissioners on there. So you knew that everybody was for it. But we all know how upsetting it is to not know how someone votes up here. But this way, at least you know who, and I'm trying to make updates for myself. But I have more of a media reach than some of the other people here, and that's how I can maybe update people. But this way, at least you can know who sponsored this, why we're talking about it, and the accountability cannot be assigned to someone who is an employee or some kind of an unelected position in the county. I don't know how we I guess I don't know if procedurally I can claim the time. If there's any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. I'm trying to be as transparent. I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. And I would be motioning to just approve of the draft 3. And if anybody has any questions about that on the board, I have, and the other thing is it really is difficult to govern this way with these open meeting rules and all these, there's a lot of rules and it's very difficult. I would love to just say, okay, what do we want to present to the public? What makes sense? And then put it forward and say, here's what I would even be fine documenting all that so everybody knew what we said, but that's not allowed under the law. So this kind of clunky procedure, right or wrong, I think it tends to move things into dark rooms personally. And you all probably know the history of Nevada a little better than I do, but we do have a lot of dark rooms in the history of this state, and I don't know how long. I think open meetings have been around since the 70s. So I'm not blaming the open meetings law, but I'm saying that this process is messy because of this, and I think that this accountability is a first step to making the best with what we have while complying with state law, so that there is accountability and there's not sort of a shrug to citizens who have questions about why we're talking about the things we're talking about. Mr. Chairman, if there is any question for me, I'm happy to answer it, or if any questions in general or for anyone.
Chair, I'd like to be recognized.
Yes, please, Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for the explanation and the item that you brought forward. I'm a little concerned here. In reading the first 2 pages of the explanation is a little different than your presentation that we just heard. Something that was not mentioned was the hearing of the items in order. And as we saw today and heard today as other meetings, the chair at his discretion was able to jump around, and there are reasons for that. Well, first of all, let me address the agenda is alphabetized. So, for example, we happen to hear the Public Works item first this day. In the past, they've been always at the back, but it's alphabetized. And sometimes, many times, items are combined. One item may be a timed item, and there may be an item that's in the very back, almost to the last of the agenda. And we open those items together to help save time. So if this is an issue of jumping around at the discretion and many times at the request of public petitioners, the very people that we're talking about, employees, department heads that need to get back to work instead of just sitting in chambers, because one of the things that we fought for the people, and it was the people that helped us decide, was the phone system, the Granicus system, and that cost the county a lot of money. But I was helping to carry the torch that all of the employees throughout the county that have an office, that have access, that have the flexibility and luxury and authorization to listen to and watch the meeting, so they are engaged with what's going on in the county, can do so. Let me move on, please. Allowing the commission to designate a parliamentarian and remove the presumption and implied power of the district attorney as parliamentarian. So there are very clear NRSs that 252 under the district attorney's, and I'm not serving as the district attorney's attorney at this time, but 252 clearly defines duties, clearly defines attendance at BOCC meetings by the district attorney. And one of the main duties under 252, NRS 252, is the DA is to defend all suits brought against his or her county. And many times the commissioners, we tend to veer off and digress. And in order to prevent us from getting ourselves in trouble and crossing the line and perhaps violating an open meeting law, the district attorney will jump in, and we, all of us, I won't say are guilty of this, but all of us have participated in when there's confusion, items get complicated. We have all asked for the district attorney's advice. We have all asked, let's hear from the district attorney. We'd like to know what the district attorney has to say, regardless of who the district attorney is. In regards to the county manager, although it may be written as such, I have never had an issue or a problem or a concern of having to call the county manager, yes, who was appointed by us at the last meeting. Why did we vote and support this man, moving him from one department to now as the county manager, if we're going to circumvent his position and his duties as the county manager? I'm not sure. I'm a little confused there. We are not held hostage, not at all. We place items on the agenda. I've been in conference with this county manager as well as the past county manager in requesting items to be placed on the agenda without question. And it goes to staff. It goes to our administrative manager, Sam Tackett, who's diligently putting these agendas together, and we are working together to put as many items as possible, to cover as much ground as possible, and as professional as possible. And I would say to please consider to allow them to do their jobs as we are to do our jobs. The county manager is our only manager. He is our only employee. We don't have the authorization to make decisions for the other department heads. The county manager has that authority. These are part of the rules. These are the regulations. We can go through, but I'm not going to. Clark County and other counties, 2.7 million people fluctuates versus 52,000 people. We're not comparing apples to apples. And if I can get back to the district attorney's issue, is if we were to entertain any of these drafts, Commissioner, and we were to seek counsel, but yet we're not going to recognize the district attorney, what I'm afraid of is that this could lead to us having to go to outside counsel, which would cost the taxpayers more money by having outside counsel when we are paying the district attorney to help us as part of his duties with this task. And by the way, the commission is not the only task at hand that the district attorney and the district attorney's office hears, sees, or reviews. So if we go to page 7 of the draft of having to review, and if they don't give us an answer within 30 days, oh my gosh, this is almost like a cable company that if we don't renew within 30 days, then it's deemed that we approved of the renewal of the contract and we're locked in for another so many years. I am not satisfied or comfortable with not having something at 30 days except, and for approval, if it's not given to us within 30 days, except the fact of not necessarily putting the DA or the DA's office on notice, but only to say, please, this is very important. We need you to prioritize this because we really need to act on this on our next or the next couple of agendas. So there are a lot of things in here that I'm not comfortable with, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring these to light and to your attention as well, to all of our attention. What I hate to think is that the county manager, who we just approved, by the way, and it's public record, of the salary of this county manager, of us handcuffing the county manager, whoever the county manager is, and now we're doing part of his job, and we are interfering with the county manager position and putting his authority in jeopardy with the other department heads, whether they are elected or appointed, hired within the county. So I am in favor of when the time comes, I want to hear from the other commissioners. I respect the fact that this was a concern of yours, but I believe that that there are issues that I have brought up that need to be noted. And if I may, and I'll end with going back to the justification of allowing the citizens to have an idea of when their item would be placed, but yet it's also part of the draft is that, but if the commissioners decide to take a vote, we can vote on moving things around. So, well, which is it? Are we allowed to do that or are we not? And we are allowed to do that at this time. And I really don't see a problem. I really don't. And all I ask is that we allow the staff, the department heads, we allow the commissioners, ourselves, we allow the county manager, the DA's office, the DA, everybody to do their jobs. And with that, Chair, I will yield and turn it back over to you. Thank you.
May I be recognized for response, please?
Do you want to hear the others first?
I would like to respond if it's possible.
Go right ahead.
I don't know what the gentleman from Tonopah was saying. I don't know if he heard. We may want to check the audio to make sure that they're receiving it, because I had said that I am only proposing draft 3, which has none of those things. However, I will answer to those things. I am assuming that the gentleman from Tonopah does not watch other bodies, because other bodies regularly suspend the rules. You can motion to suspend the rules and move something forward. You always have that allowance. I believe it's in the current rules, so you may want to read the current rules. Also in the current rules that I don't believe that the gentleman from Tonopah knows is that it designates the ability to set aside the DA as the parliamentarian. It's already in the rules. So again, I would recommend you read the rules. I don't know if you have, but it's already in the rules that you can designate another parliamentarian. The chairman has the ability to do that. So there's nothing new there at all. No one is trying to circumvent anything. I was not aware that the job, and I don't know if your voters and your citizens up there realize that the job of the county manager is to tell us what we're going to talk about up here. No other jurisdiction works like that. I've never heard of any place working like that. Congress doesn't work like that. If you had a situation where the Secretary of Interior put something on the calendar for a congressional hearing, I think you'd have a big problem. I like the way that those federal bodies run. They run fairly, and they're run for representation so that people who are elected make these decisions. I don't want somebody who's not elected to make these decisions, and it sounds like the gentleman is suggesting that we have unelected people who make these decisions and that we are accountable to department heads. Well, I have news for anyone listening to this. We are not accountable to department heads. Department heads are accountable to us. So in the event that a department head wants to raise taxes, under the current system that the gentleman up in District 1 obviously prefers, is that the department head can go to the county manager and then slip something on the agenda without the approval or the knowledge of the people who put us up here, and then decide what we're going to talk about. And they could flood the entire agenda and then put items that we want and take them off, if they can control the county manager. And if the gentleman in District 1 doesn't realize that people in county government have been controlled, then I guess that's where we disagree. But I think that is a history. And I think it's not just a history in Nevada, it's a history everywhere. Growing up in Chicago, growing up in Massachusetts. I'm not yielding. Thank you. I think we just disagree on this. I know you don't support this, and that's fine. The job of the county manager is not to, against the will, put things on the agenda for the board. I was not aware of that. I don't see that written anywhere. No one is trying to take power away from the district attorney. I don't know what the debate is over, but I suggest that the gentleman from District 1 is debating on an issue that isn't even being brought up. No one's suggesting taking power away from the DA. The only thing that was in Draft 1 and Draft 2 is to skip one part of the rule that says there's a presumption that, and I don't have it here in front of me, that there's a presumption that the district attorney is the parliamentarian, and instead allow the chairman to designate a parliamentarian. The parliamentarian does not control legal advice. The parliamentarian is not in control of who does what with legal authority, and no one is suggesting doing that. So I just would hope that people would listen and read prior to making judgments. I think what's going on is there's a discussion being had about an issue that isn't on the floor today. And that's all I'll say. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'd like to hear the other
Mr.
two
Chair,
commissioners.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
please.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you. I'll make it quick, Mr. Chair, and refer to the gentleman in District 3 in Pahrump. I read the first 2 pages besides the drafts. I'm reading from what the justification is from the gentleman in Pahrump of District 3. And I will ask you to take note that I found very interesting that the words control and power 8 times each. I kept reading power, control, power, control. That's what I'm reading on the justification pages for me to understand without speaking to the gentleman in Pahrump of District 3.
May I respond to whatever was?
I really want to hear Commissioner Koenig and Strickland, please, first.
I'll go.
Go, please.
Technically, everything you've just heard is open for discussion because that's the agenda item. Whether you want item 3 only is your opinion. But item 1 and item 2 are on the agenda, so they're open for discussion. That being said, there's a lot of stuff being proposed here that would cause great problems with the open meeting law, especially if they're not handled exactly correctly. So that's a no vote automatically because I don't go with those. But I'll read on page 4. Page 4, yes.
Is it page 4 of a draft, if I can interrupt you?
Page 4 of the rules as we have them, order of business, 5.1.7, which is in the backup also, says the following persons are authorized to place matters on the agenda. Okay, we got that, right? 5.1.7.1, members of the Nyecounty Board of County Commissioners. That means I can put something on the agenda if I want to, and no one stops me. The same with the rest of the commissioners. 5.1.7.2, the county manager and designees. 5.1.7.3, all other elected officials of the county shall file items for the agenda with the county manager. That sort of county manager can arrange the agenda so it looks pretty and everything sort of flows. Okay, there's nothing that says any of us cannot put an item on the agenda. If one of my constituents comes to me and wants an item on the agenda, whether the county manager or any other commissioner doesn't like it, is tough. It still goes on the agenda. You have your say when it comes to the board meetings. That's the time you say, I vote no. Not before by not putting it on there. So there's nothing that says I can't do that.
Point of
We
information?
don't want to discuss the rest of the stuff that's not in item 3. I guess that's fine, but there are lots of problems with the other items that are brought up. And, you know, if you spend time going to meetings as a commissioner, you'll find out that this stuff works instead of trying to change stuff that's kind of weird. But, Mr. Chair, would you allow us to hear from the district attorney?
I would like a point of information prior to that, please.
Real quickly.
Point of information on that. It was said that no one can stop anyone who's elected. I'm going to read 511. Items for the agenda for any regular meeting of the board may be included on the agenda only with the approval of the county manager. I'm not sure how else to take that. It is being suggested that maybe that's just a suggestion. And if that's the case, I would like to remove just 511 and leave everything else intact. Because the problem that I have with all of this is the control being placed with an unelected bureaucrat. And there's a lot of resistance to that. And I know how things operated here in the past. And that's why I'm up here, because of the way things were operated in the past. So if I don't make a point to change these things from the way they were operated in the past, where your elected officials are answering to department heads and county managers that you don't know who they are or anything about them, if I don't at least try to make those changes, I have not done what I have promised I would attempt to do. And I've told everyone all I can do is be that one person who will propose and vote in the interests of the people. And if it is suggested somehow that it is the best interest of the people to forbid an elected representative of those people from having a guarantee that something can be on agenda, and instead it's better for the people to have unelected bureaucrats place things on this agenda for this body, I have to do something about that and try to change that. I don't like the system the way it is. A lot of people who put me in this seat don't like the system the way it is. And all I can do is try to change the system the way it is. I'll yield. I just want to read this last thing. Items for the agenda, and this is the current rules. Items for the agenda for any regular meeting of the board may be included on the agenda only with the approval of the county manager.
Please read the or the however and what comes after that.
However, board members may file an item for the agenda for a regular meeting directly with the person or office responsible for preparing the agenda. Anyone can file it. You can have someone in the street file it, but again, only with the approval of the county manager can anything be done.
So I think,
that in 5.1.
I yield back, thanks.
so I appreciate that, and I still want to hear from Commissioner Strickland. I think there are some good things in this draft. I think there are some things that could be reworked or reworded or hammered out, and I understand that everybody's very passionate about this, and I appreciate it. We are professionals and we are in a role, and that's what we need to remember. Please go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. For consideration within this item, the accountability and government initiative, there are several items that are stated about rule changes, and that's where we have all gone with until we were given 3 drafts, if the public's not aware of that. 3 drafts. And now we've been asked to disseminate to just the 1 draft, which is draft number 3, is what is being proposed now, is my understanding. And of that draft, there's several of these accountability initiatives that are not addressed in this draft number 3. So let's go to draft number 3, and let's go to page number 6, and let's talk about 5.1.1 again. Board may include on agenda only with the approval of the county manager. I agree with that. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but we've had some rogue board members in the past. The discussions need to be had before it gets on an agenda so it doesn't get out of hand. And that gives manager a chance to have those discussions, because we receive the agendas, unfortunately, within just a minimal amount of time to address them. 5.17 on the same page, the following persons are authorized to place matters on the agenda. It talks about county commissioners, the manager and designee, elected officials, okay, which are, you know, your treasurer, your recorder, your assessor, and then placement items on the agenda, other persons can be done. In this proposal, this draft would erase all of that, and now we have no course of putting agenda items together except for the commissioners doing it. I don't want to do it. I want staff to prepare these agenda items. I'm sorry, I don't know the item as well as they do, and I expect I'm going to learn when it comes here and before when I discuss it with them. So I'm afraid that I can't support this draft as written. But I appreciate the passion. I want to tell you guys, there's nothing like seeing people that want to do a great job of governing, and all of you have that passion. Thank you, gentlemen.
And I want to point out one thing real quickly. I know one of the goals of this is to curtail items coming forward on an agenda that are unnecessary or very, very clearly not wanted. And I'm going to give you an example. Recently, there was a initiative that the voters voted on regarding the diesel tax. And this is nothing personal, Public Works, but the minute the voters voted that down, that item came right back on a board agenda. Had anybody come to me or, you know, whatever, I would have said, there's no point. Why on earth would we think that we have the right to go against the will of the voters? So, and we spent close to 2 hours on that item on this at that meeting. So we wasted everybody's time on an item that the voters clearly demanded not happen. So that's my point on that. Do you have anything else, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'll close. I'm not going to make a motion on this because there's no support here. And I'm fine with that. I think it's just a reminder to everyone that we have a lot of work to do. And just because people come up here and smile and compliment each other, it doesn't mean that the right thing is being done. And all that is being proposed here, it's very simple, is that if it's going to be heard by the people's board up here, elected by the people, there should be a sponsor by one of the elected people. And I want people to think about this. It's kind of interesting that elected people are saying, and it's not saying we're writing it. No one's suggesting taking any powers away from anyone, saying to rewrite or anything. But it's interesting because the pushback here is we don't want to be accountable. We don't want someone to know that I'm the one that put this up here. So if a department head has a tax hike, which we're going to hear in a couple minutes, if a department head has a tax hike, we want to hide behind that department head. We don't want our name attached to that. And that is what this rule would stop. And that is why there is such resistance to this rule. Have you ever heard more passionate resistance by this board in the last year? I haven't. I thank everyone for consideration. I will withdraw, and I thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. So how procedurally do I do this? So do I need to do anything? That's it.
It's dead unless somebody wants to bring a motion and the sponsor is not willing to bring a motion. That's
Gotcha.
what I heard.
Okay. In that case,
Public comment?
public comment, please. Thank you for standing up, Helene. You reminded me. You and Vice Chair.
No.
Helene Williams, WILLIAMS. As a past commissioner, Commissioner Bain, I would suggest that you take the time to sit on the board and have the experience on that side. It's very, very different being on that side versus being on this side. And I can tell you from experience in many ways. The thing that concerns me the most is if all of the issues on the agenda are brought by no one other than the commissioners that are elected, it becomes political. I don't want to follow Clark County in anything, especially their policy and procedures, which gets them into trouble constantly. They're always in the news media, and the Attorney General is already spanking them on the hand. But I would suggest time is of the essence, Commissioner Bain, and take the time to see how the existing procedures are working for the people. If they haven't been working, the people would have changed them rather than just change commissioners as they have in the past. They would change the policy and the procedures. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Helene. Joni, in Tonopah.
Hi, thank you. For the record. Yeah, everybody's
Can you
laughing at me here. They
please
think I need to
spell your
stand
name?
on a box. Yes, Eastley, E-A-S-T-L-E-Y.
Thank you.
I'm not going to discuss the merits of this. I have absolutely some very firm opinions on this. But the one thing that I will point out that jumped out at me, and it wasn't until Commissioner Bain made the comment, that he was hoping that if this were adopted, that there could actually be co-sponsors on agenda items. And that jumped out at me because I believe that's an absolute violation of the open meeting law for commissioners, two or more, to discuss before an item goes on the agenda whether or not it does go on the agenda. So all I'll say in conclusion, two things. If it ain't broke, don't break it. And the second is beware the law of unintended consequences, regardless how well-meaning the intent is. Thank you.
Thanks, Joni. Sam, you got anybody?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Sorry, Karen.
Beth Morsevich, B-O-R-Y-S-E-W-I-C-H. I have a whole lot to say about this. I wish I could, take as much time as you guys had. First of all, the county manager is the administrative god and knows everything that happens in our town, or is supposed to. He also has a staff that is to do the research to see whether or not whatever is requested to go on the agenda, number one, is legal, to bring up any backup information that might be needed, and to just do their job of finding out whether this is something that we could actually do. So I did a whole lot of research, which I would assume that the commissioners would do as well, which doesn't look like they did. And in reading this document, I was a little appalled that someone would say that the county manager would not put something on the agenda because he didn't like it. If we want to make sure that something goes on the agenda, then we could go so far as to saying, okay, we're going to issue a receipt. You put this in, Commissioner, here's your receipt number 12. Mr. John, whoever, public, here's your receipt number 15. That way we have proof that the things that came in go on the agenda. However, our commissioners, which we elected, and I know that a lot of people are going, what the hell, Beth, are you saying? We're supposed to have faith in what they're doing, and they're doing it right. There are some things that are kind of iffy that, I question all the time. But still, the county manager is supposed to make sure that the items that go on the agenda are things that can actually be voted on. I mean, we can't say, certain things can happen when they really can't by law. Also, the other part of the things that were brought up on this item it's kind of funny that you put all this presentation into it, and then you step back and go, oh, let's do number 3, and not even bring into part about the parliamentarian, which does not have to be the DA. But the parliamentarian does need to know the Robert's Rules of Order. If they don't, they can't be the parliamentarian because that's their job. The DA can be there to give advice if there's something that the board is doing that is wrong. So I'm just kind of like, just totally flustered here that this even came up, and I'm kind of embarrassed.
Thank you, Beth. Karen,
Okay.
you're up.
Karen Waldman, WALDMAN. Well, first of all, I really want to thank Commissioner Bain for bringing this out. I kind of feel like there are a lot of things here that could be better. Oftentimes I come up here and people think I'm just complaining about one thing or another, but my goal is always to try and do it better. We have such an opportunity here to be a shining star as a county, and I think oftentimes that doesn't happen. I don't adhere to the if it ain't broken, don't break it, or whatever Joni Eastley said. I believe that if there's something that could be fixed or done better or tweaked, and maybe this wasn't the answer, but maybe there were some parts of this that could have been done or incorporated. And I hope that you do not give up, Commissioner Bain, in your quest to doing this. I did like the thought of having people sponsor, not necessarily the co-sponsor, but sponsor something so that it doesn't just show up and everybody puts their hands up and say, well, that came from this area or this department. There's a lot that you guys do really, really well, and there are other things that I think could use some improvement. So I definitely appreciate that he jumped in with both feet to give this a shot. And I think that if you take a look at some of this, I do think that our DA has way too much power and control over these meetings, and I'd like to see that diminish greatly. And choosing a parliamentarian would not be hurting that process at all. Obviously, you wouldn't be choosing a parliamentarian, excuse me, that did not know Robert's Rules of Order. So keep fighting the fights, keep getting some of this stuff out here. Let's make this a much better county than what you guys have currently been working with. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Sam, do you have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hi, this is Tim Bohannon, Bohannon. I'm not going to spend a lot of bandwidth on this since it's going to be tabled, except to say keep a closer eye on things that may be open meeting law violations, things of that nature. Sponsorships are an idea or concept, but be careful and cautious in excessive requirements and reducing the ability of key staff to be able to raise concerns and raise items that need to get to the people. Keep doing what we're doing, assess it, keep going on the assessment of this, but I'd follow a little bit more with Ms. Eastley's comment of it's not broke right now, don't break it. But I always am a continuous improvement type too. So if there's opportunity, keep looking for it, and keep on plugging away. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. In Pahrump, please.
Ron Mortensen, Mortinson. Okay, I want to thank you, Mr. Bain, for the main thing I like about what you had to share is that the county manager would not be a choke point on what goes onto the agenda. Years back, I was a person on a 5-member political board, and my job on that board was to write the soundbite for the media. It's interesting, I can write a soundbite, but I can't speak. But in any event, I know from having debates with, among 5 of us, that bringing 3 things to a table for 5 people to debate will take forever, absolutely forever. If you want to try to put something together to figure it out, just bring 1 item, right? You bring 3 items to this many people, and the meeting will never end. Trust me, I know. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Bowling.
Thomas Bowling, Bolling. I am the director that brought forth the diesel tax item. It is my job not to propose tax rates, to propose tax hikes and stuff like that. It is my job to inform this board of problems that we have and budget deficiencies that we see moving forward. That's my job. And it's also my job to come and bring you suggestions and bring you ways that we can increase the budget. That's my job. And if this board, if it was up to the board for the diesel tax item, I wouldn't have been able to put it in front of you because none of you supported it. Okay, so I wouldn't have had a sponsor for that. And it's not that I'm doing that to try to get you to approve it. I'm doing that to keep it in front of you guys, to keep it in front of the public, that everybody knows that, hey, this is a problem. This is something we're going to have to fix eventually. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, but eventually it's going to have to be fixed. So just understand that whenever we bring you guys something that proposes a tax hike, we're giving you the information of the deficit, not the saying, hey, you have to do this. Okay? All right.
Completely understand that and didn't mean anything other than the voters were super clear.
Didn't you like, though, the explanation?
He's probably got one of the toughest hurdles in this county.
All these roads?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, yeah.
Excuse
Anybody
me,
on the
Mr.
phone?
Chair,
Sam?
we have someone here.
Yes, go right ahead in Tonopah. A familiar face.
Serena Otteson, Otteson for the record. I kept hearing accountability being repeated, but I thought that was the point of the commissioners making a motion and taking a vote. I believe that there are many processes and policies that have evolved and become what they have for reasons, and we should really focus on that evolution. Staff is always working diligently together to ensure that the items and backup that come before the board are transparent for commissioners and the public. And we work diligently with the DA's office, department heads, and electeds to ensure their items are written within NRS laws. I believe that strictly limiting the placement of agenda items to commissioners and taking away the alleged power from staff, the county manager, and/or department heads, in my opinion, is only adding an extra step that isn't necessary and will only cause extra delays. There are many annual agreements, contracts, grant-related items for federal funding, public petitioner items regarding proclamations, etc., that repeatedly come before the board, and not everything on the agenda is from Nyecounty staff. There are items that are strictly informative for the public. I don't believe that the proposed changes will do anything other than limit more for the public eye. And I don't believe that the business that Nyecounty conducts needs to be highlighted on every commissioner's resume for their next election campaign. I agree with Commissioner Jabor, and I also believe that there are changes that need to be made. The right process would be for the commissioners to approach staff, department heads, and electeds and have discussion regarding the procedures that make Nyecounty run rather than alleging corruption and dysfunction. We are all one functioning body and should be working together rather than working against each other. And some processes can be fixed by simply pointing them out and having conversations. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody on the phone, Sam?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Yes, thank you. Caroline Logue, Logue. I'm going to bring this to a larger picture regarding the agenda item. I hear the question being asked, should be whether or not our county is currently operating in a manner that is increasing the people's chance of survival and success. This board is using our collective wealth to provide the security of the people for a reasonable chance of survival. Then and only then is it reasonable to discuss either changing the role of this board or shrinking it down. The board must bring with it a guarantee that the people will never go without the basics for life, food, clean water, shelter, and basic health care. It is entirely unreasonable to think we can have a stable society with low crime rates, high attainment, and sustainable systems of the entire population if it remains uncertain whether or not we will end up homeless and hungry. This board only exists due to the collective power of the people, at its core, your purpose is to attempt to organize the collective wealth of the people in order to provide the services of the people with the staff charged with all administrative services available with the funding available. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your listening.
Thank you very much. And Pahrump.
Mary Ann Hollis, Hollis. Commissioner Bain, perhaps you missed the accusation by someone here that said East Coast ways don't work here. I'm only speaking for myself that if East Coast ways don't work here, then there is no option for anything that you just attempted to do. My East Coast ways when I was in office was to look at how things were done. Could they be improved? Were they okay? Was the public involved? And I listened to my constituents. You've done that. I applaud you for your effort. Please look at me because I'm being sincere, Commissioner Bain. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Yes, hello. My name is Laura Larson, Larscn. From what I'm hearing from Mr. Commissioner Bain, and I approve what you're saying, that you are representing the people and that the people have a say of what should be on the agenda, and the commissioner should be the one to place it on the agenda. I approve of that because a lot of things that we the people, want on the agenda has not been put on the agenda when requested many a time. And I've lived here 10 years. And, you know, I think that we also got to get back to the basics regarding the fact of, you know, who we are as a county and, you know, think about our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if we, the people, are requesting something to be put on the agenda, somebody else should not have the authority to take it off the agenda without notice. I've seen that in action many a times previously, and I'm not saying anything about Mr. Wagner. I'm not saying that about anybody. I'm just stating what I've seen. I think that change is good, and we have to think about more of the people and what is best for the people. And if we have a say regarding the fact of what we ask our commissioners to do that we elect, that we should be allowed to put things on the agenda. And I'm not talking about multiple things on one agenda. There's a time limit regarding the fact of what needs to be put on the agenda. But I think that if we need something, as we the people need something put on the agenda, that our commissioners should back us up and have them put it on the agenda for us. And we have a say on it. So I commend you, Commissioner Bain, for trying to make a change. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate everything that you all do. And I know change is hard, but you know what? It is what it is. And we need to sit there and remember that it's we the people, not bureaucrats. And I agree with that. It's not bureaucrats that should make a decision. Nothing against anybody personally, but we the people should have a say. That's what I have to say. So God bless you guys. Have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Do you have anybody else on the phone, Sam?
No, Chair.
We're going to close public comment.
Can we have a comfort break?
Yeah, so this item, we're just done, right?
Well, before we have a comfort break, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Oh,
I thought it was withdrawn.
not if a commissioner wants to.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I motion to reject the amendments, the Nyecounty Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
Connie, aye.
Jabor's aye.
You know, I will vote aye then. That motion carries 4 with 1 abstention? Well, I think he's not.
Present.
There you go. Okay, moving on to a comfort break.
Thank you.
10 minutes, 12:11. All right, guys, we ready?
One second, Joe.
There's only one here, right?
We're recording, Chair.
All right, manager, let's do number 9, please.
Item number 9 for possible action, discussion and deliberation to appoint a person from the panel of substitute justice of the peace pursuant to NRS 4.340 as a justice of the peace to attend his or her official duties from the following list of persons: Michael Foley, Eric Murphy, and Philip Bovey. A temporary vacancy from absence, disability, or other cause must not be filled by another justice of the peace or substitute justice of the peace for more than 30 days at one time.
Thank you for that. Who is presenting on this? Or is anyone?
No one.
May I be recognized briefly?
Take a motion.
Public first, please,
We're gonna
if you
do,
don't mind.
we're gonna do,
Like, the judge called me. He just said he was not able to come today.
Oh.
So I'm just letting the board know that he said he's working in court.
judging.
Doing judge stuff.
All right. Thank you for that. So let's do public comment first, Commissioner Koenig. We got anybody on the phone?
No, Chair.
Well, let's close public comment then. And now, go ahead, sir.
Maybe recognized very briefly.
Yes, go ahead.
There is a letter. I don't know if anyone received this. A letter from the court? Did we receive this? Yes. It wasn't in the. You did not.
Did.
Yes.
We all did.
I requested it and I got it. I didn't see it in the materials. There is a letter from the Justice Court Administrator, essentially asking that we reappoint and not take their time away trying to train new people. I just wanted to make sure that that was something that people knew of, because it was not in any kind of public documentation that I was aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. I did get that, and I heard what Elisa had to say. Okay, Commissioner Koenig, you were.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Michael Foley for that position.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor.
Point of order. Point of order. I just want to make sure we're including the 30 days because it has to be done 30 days at a time.
For the next 30 days until it comes up again.
Second.
We have an amended motion and second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, we'll do public comment. Actually, no, we already did
that.
All right.
Let's call for a vote.
Let's call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Or is aye?
Boscovich is aye. That's 5-0. Thank you for that. Moving on to number 11, please.
May I be recognized? Point of information.
Before he reads the item?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I want to mention in a disclosure, in that being a taxpayer, although it's not a significant interest as required by law, we have a lot of differing legal opinions that go on sometimes. So I'm just going to make that comment that my taxes will be affected by this. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Bowling.
no,
Item, excuse me.
Yes.
We normally read the item before we make comments. Thank you.
Item number 11 for possible action, discussion and deliberation to A, presentation on the landfill fee fund and the potential budget improvements associated with adopting Nyecounty Resolution number 2025-01, a resolution amending the schedule of fees in Nyecounty Code Title 8, Health and Safety, Chapter 24, Solid Waste Management, including sections 240, 440, and 580 related to disposal, application, monitoring, and load fees, and B, adopt and adopt or reject Nyecounty Resolution number 2025-01, A resolution amending the schedule of fees in the Nyecounty Code Title 8, Health and Safety, Chapter 24, Solid Waste Management, including sections 240, 440, and 580 related to disposal, application, monitoring, and load fees.
Thank you for that. Now, Director.
Tom Bowling, Bolling, for the record. We brought this item back to you guys. Okay, we had it in front of you last month, at the beginning of the month. You guys asked for more information. We held the 221s with you guys, where we got a lot of information. You guys had questions. We answered your questions. We got a lot of suggestions. So we showed you guys a slideshow. So Mr. McKee is going to go through the slideshow so the public gets to see it as well. And then after that, we will discuss the options that you guys presented to us. And then after that, we will just give you the need and the what's going to happen in the future if none of these options are taken.
Gotcha.
Okay? Go ahead. Say your name. Spell it.
Cody McKee for the record, MCKEE, and just like Mr. Bowling said, I'm going to just present this PowerPoint and read through it for the public and for everyone's information. Nyecounty Resolution 2025-01, addressing challenges and ensuring sustainability for our solid waste management system. Proper management and maintenance of Nyecounty's landfills are essential for protecting public health, preserving the local environment, supporting the long-term growth of our community. This presentation highlights the importance of addressing critical operational needs, enhancing efficiency, and maintaining compliance with federal and state regulations. By taking proactive measures today, we can ensure a sustainable, well-managed solid waste system that meets community needs and supports Nyecounty's future development. For the public's information, this is the background on our landfills and transfer bin sites. Nyecounty has 3 active landfills and 4 transfer bin stations. The landfills are in Pahrump, Tonopah, Round Mountain, and the bin stations are in Belmont, Manhattan, Amargosa Valley, and Beatty. These are all funded through the landfill fee fund. Currently, residential single-family homes pay $30 per year. Multifamily units pay $30 for the first dwelling unit and $15 for each additional dwelling unit per year. And businesses pay $30 plus $30 for each rentable unit per year. The current challenge, we are currently operating at a cash flow deficit, prompting Nyecounty to engage SCS engineers to conduct a comprehensive financial analysis. As part of their assessment, they provided recommendations for adjusting parcel charges and tipping fees. The deficit stems from increased costs associated with landfill operating contracts, landfill cell excavation costs, equipment maintenance and replacement, staffing, permit compliance, and closure post-closure monitoring fees. The study objective was to perform a 10-year revenue sufficiency analysis for the county landfill operations, create a long-term financial plan, and calculate a methodology for a parcel charge and tipping fee adjustment. Recommendations were to increase tipping fees as well as parcel fees. Now we should consider evaluating this every 1 to 2 years. I've also provided a snapshot timeline of all of our landfill fees for the public. So this goes back to 1974, and this is just a brief overview of how this has operated over the years. Our current financial outlook, expenses have been outpacing revenue since fiscal year 22. The current fund balance is estimated to be depleted by fiscal year 27-28. Existing equipment is very old, requires constant maintenance, and some of the parts for this equipment are almost impossible to find. Replacement equipment is also very expensive, and operation contract costs continue to increase annually. Some financial risk, we have increased cleanup costs, regulatory fines, long-term liability. Operational risks, we have capacity overruns, safety hazards. As far as environmental risk, we have groundwater contamination, air pollution, and soil degradation. This is a slide to show the public the stakeholder impact. So as a resident or business owner, this is the potential impact. There are approximately 61,749 residential and vacant parcels. The parcel charge would increase from $30 per year to $35 per year. This is for a residential and vacant parcel. There are approximately 14,563 commercial properties that will be categorized into 5 classes. Each class will be charged at a different rate per square foot, with the minimum charge of $35 per year. The total proposed revenue from this increase is split approximately 23% from commercial properties and 77% from residential and vacant properties. This distribution reflects the proportion of waste generation and the corresponding fees attributed to each category. For example, residential and vacant properties will see a modest $5 increase, while commercial properties' annual fees will vary based on their square footage and waste generation category. This approach ensures the revenue increase is fairly allocated based on the usage of the landfill and helps balance the financial burden across different property types. Also, constituents will have the ability to dispute the number of dwelling units, develop square footage, parcel use, and waste generation category as a result of this change. What this fee increase doesn't include includes a Pahrump landfill scale project, estimated to be approximately $600,000, or any new landfill cell excavation moving forward, so digging cells to place trash in the future. That's not included in this increase. This also does not increase any fees for a new landfill location or any future expansion. This does not account for any future closure or post-closure funding requirements as mandated by INDEP. And this also doesn't include any other capital purchases or new hires that were not outlined in the CIP. And with that, I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Board, do we have questions for either of these gentlemen?
Not me.
Okay, moving forward, the discussions that we had with the commissioners, a couple commissioners asked how come we didn't project what it's going to cost to do the expansion of the landfills, to include that in this increase, is because it's almost impossible to tell you exactly what it's going to cost until we get the designs built, so we get anything like that, right? Currently, as you could tell by the slideshow that he just gave, we are only trying to continue to operate the landfills at their current capacity and their current permit statuses. Now, that includes all 3 landfills, all of the transfer bin sites and everything. And as he stated in the PowerPoint, by fiscal year 2028, we will be in a deficit. We will be out of budget. We'll be out of our nest egg that we have built over the last however many years, since 2003, I think it was. So we're going to be, we will have to come back to the board and ask for an augment of that fund at the end of the year to cover the costs of these landfills if we don't take action and start something now, no matter what that may be. And so because there was such a difference in ideas from the board during our 221s with you guys, that's why we decided to bring it back to you guys, for you guys, let's see if we can figure it out. If we can't figure it out, if you would like to think about it again, we'll bring it back another time. I understand that, but something has to be done. Okay, because the money is depleting. There's nothing we can do about it. Costs go up, you know, CPI increases, everybody's groceries went up, you name it, you know, throughout the world, and that's what's happened. Whenever they initiated this fee originally, it was enough to cover everything and put a little nest egg in there to get us through the future, or to the future. Well, the future is now, and now we are depleting that nest egg. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do in order to continue using the landfills. Because if we can't pay for them, we have to close them. And then we have to find something to do, somewhere to go with the trash, period. So I turn it back over to you guys.
Thank you for that, Tom. Commissioners?
I have a quick question. May it be recognized? Sure. And this is just informational. You had mentioned, I thought, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, I thought that you had said that if the fee tax went up today, that you would need another increase soon. Is that correct, or is it not correct?
Eventually, we would have to be able to expand the landfills and or change whenever we get to those figures, yes.
So let me ask the question, because I'm not sure I understood. So if you got a tax increase today, there would be another request for a tax increase possibly within the next 12 months, yes or no?
No, it'll be years.
Okay, and that's, I think that may be where I'm a little confused. So if we got this $5 or whatever you're looking for, I'm sorry, it would be a case of a couple of years where there would be another request for increased taxes.
Cody McKee for the record, MCKEE, and to provide more context, just the permit process alone for expanding or relocating landfills, it takes years. If we wanted to do a vertical expansion of our existing footprint, you're looking at 18 months to 2 years just to go through permitting with the state. And then after that, you would have to go out and do another fee analysis with an engineered cost for your final design, because you have to base the increase on something. It can't just be, we want X amount. It has to be based on an engineered design.
Okay, so you are saying, and I felt like I was having a question answered that wasn't asked. You're saying that in order to ask for another tax increase, you would have to go through this process prior to it. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Correct. 'Cause
Okay.
we would not know what the fee increase would need to be
Got it.
until we have the final.
That's helpful. So you're looking for it now for all these reasons, and then the next time you would need to do it, if you need to do it, would only be after such a study that takes whatever it takes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. I yield back.
Gentlemen in Tonopah?
You're taking commissioners now or public?
Commissioners.
Okay. I'm going to go back to some of the stuff I said the last time we kicked this around and some of the stuff I said in the 2-for-1. Again, we need this money for all the reasons that the director brought up. And that's all well and good. That's great. But this is the can that we've been kicking down the road for years. Many, many years. Because the dollar number at the end of this whole thing is so big that we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to plan for it. A $5 fee is fine. That gets us to where the director wants us to be, where we don't run out of money. But when the day comes, when at least the Pahrump landfill is full, and we have to do something different, which means put the land back the way it used to be, whatever that is, and use another pit, that's got to have to be up to all the new regulations, such as it's going to have to be lined, it's going to have things that, take the water that goes in there and do something with it and all that stuff that I don't even want to understand. It's millions and millions of dollars that we're not going to be prepared for. So if you took a $5 fee and made it something different than that, you have more money towards that problem later than you're going to have now. That's just my point. And I'm not saying make it $10 or $20 or $100. I'm just saying if you make it bigger than $5, your problem will be less for your grandkids or whomever has the problem. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. So, again, this isn't the first time that this has been presented. And as Commissioner Koenig said, in the past, it's been kicked around and literally, and no pun intended, but okay, the cans that end up in the landfill has been kicked around because nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news. And as somebody mentioned earlier, one of the toughest positions in the county is the director and assistant director's position because of everything that they're dealing with, whether it's roads, landfill, et cetera. So I appreciate Cody mentioning that there are very strict restrictions through NDEP and a very long, arduous process if we were to default. And I have a question for the director, Bowling, is if we were to do nothing, and the landfills were to close, what is your contingency plan? And before you answer that, Tom, I just want to add that, we took a look at the outside companies that have been coming and sneaking in, we'll say, to Nyecounty, which is very offensive to all of our residents here of Nyecounty. And if you read the backup, I see that it's substantial. I believe it's much more money than what it was originally, and if they want to continue to come, which it will be a deterrent, that they'll go somewhere else. And let them go somewhere else, because we need the room. We're running out of room, and I appreciate you and your staff bringing this to the county's attention, because we have to address it. It's very important, because we know what happens. We read the books, we've read, we've heard, we've seen. Trash and garbage attracts rodents, critters, becomes very dangerous and detrimental to society if we were not in control of landfills. So again, Tom, please, what's the contingency plan if we were to do nothing? We run out, we are in a major and full deficit by 2028. What are we going to do?
Okay, so in 2028, we would come to this board to ask for an augment. And of course, that money would have to come out of the 101, which is the general fund, which would put anything else or one of the other items that are paid out of the 101 into less of a budget for that department. Or if they decide, hey, we don't have any money that we can spare to pay for this, then we would not have trash collection anymore, or not trash collection, sorry. We would not have a landfill for people to take their stuff to. We would not have landfills in Pahrump, Tonopah, Round Mountain. We would not have trash collection in Belmont, Manhattan, and Gaps. In Tonopah, they would have nowhere to take their stuff anywhere. No town or most of the towns in Nyecounty would not have anywhere to put their garbage or refuse. So then that would be put up to the citizens to figure out where they're going to take their garbage, how they're going to get rid of their garbage. And since most of them probably can't go to Reno, to Hawthorne, to Vegas to be able to put their trash where it needs to go, or pay somebody to do that, they would just start dumping it out in the desert, dumping it all over town. Wherever they can get rid of it is where they would get rid of it. That's our model that we saw happening if this was to happen. So that's where we're at. There's nothing we can do about it. We're not the ones that are making these deficits happen. We're just the ones that have to try to figure out how we're going to correct them. And just so you know, yes, the deficit will start in 2028, but it multiplies exponentially to where in fiscal year 2030, it'll be over $1 million worth of deficit. So that's
Thank
that's
you,
a
Tom.
large undertaking.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner, you got anything? Commissioner?
I wanted to explain my vote. I don't know if it's the appropriate time. I don't know if we've dismissed the, or if I.
Want to do public first?
Yeah, that would be fine with me. Thank you.
Sam, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hi, this is Tim Bohannon, BOHANNON. You know, this is one of the interests and concerns I've had for quite a while about the making sure from a financial forecasting standpoint. This is one of those things that clearly hits that. I would also like to see greater efficiencies within every area, every department. And I like the fact that Tom is raising the concern. I want to make sure that they've exhausted everything they can. It sounds like they're close to it, but there's maybe one or two things left on the table. But to exhaust all the options as far as costing, efficiencies, and then other alternatives, other than having to ship it all the way over to Vegas, as much as possible. You know, this is a kick the can thing that needs to get dealt with, and it needs to be planned to get dealt with. And that's where finance and treasury come into play. And if we have tighter and more efficient areas, reducing costs wherever possible, we're going to have a better chance at being able to meet that need in 2028. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Do you have anybody else on the phone, Sam?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
How about in Pahrump?
Karen Waldman, W-A-L-D-M-A-N. So what is different about this agenda item other than this slickly produced marketing handout? Some of this does not even make sense. For example, there's environmental risk on the inaction page. They include groundwater contamination, air pollution, and soil degradation. Are you seriously trying to say that if fees aren't raised, that these items will happen because a lack of funds leads to poor management? How have we managed so far? I didn't hear any projected revenues, like how much a year do you expect to bring in with the increase in property taxes and tipping fees? What's the current process for collecting tipping fees, and what are the current tipping fees? Because I didn't see those either. Are you planning on looking at everyone's driver's license to determine if they live in the county? Will you be accepting credit cards at the window at the scale? And if so, do you have a plan to deal with the potential for traffic being backed up? When I utilized the dump in Henderson, I had to have a copy of my current bill and my driver's license that matched the name on the bill before I could come in and dump. Just out of curiosity, what do you think the side effect will be if you raise the fees to this level? Will we truly earn our name even more so, the dump of Pahrump, as people decide, illegal or not, to toss that mattress or set of tires out in the desert at an increased rate? And who's going to clean this additional eyesore up? Where in this plan is a requirement to set aside the necessary portion to fund the next landfill, or will this just be another fund that can be robbed at will to plug holes in the budget until our property taxes get raised yet again? I'm trying to understand. This says that what the fee increases not include, and one of it says the scale. And my recollection after listening to this at some of these meetings is that this was one of the reasons why they wanted this increase, is to pay for the scale, yet now it says it doesn't include that. So after raising taxes and adding tipping fees for out of the county dumping, we're still kicking the can down the road. I don't think this proposal is ready, and I think some more due diligence is needed here. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Sam, do you have anyone else?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Beth Borisevich, Borsewich. Our landfill is reaching capacity and will need expansion or replacement in the next 10 to 15 years. However, the board's decision to allow MetaWaste to dump California medical waste into our landfill may speed up this timeline. Now we're being asked to pay an additional fee of $5 per parcel for landfill maintenance, permitting, and closure. According to the appraiser, there's 57,937 taxable parcels. At $5, it would bring in an additional $289,685. What is that going to pay for? It's a small amount in the grand scheme of things, but what exactly are we maintaining? Our landfill is basically an unlined hole in the desert with maybe some dirt on the bottom. Where's the money already collected through hauling and tipping fees gone? We need transparency on spending within the landfill to know exactly where the money's gone so that we can figure out ways to help to not spend as much. Instead of passing costs on to property owners, we should consider alternatives. The solid waste hauler license fee has been $250 since 2007, unchanged for nearly 18 years. Meanwhile, inflation has risen by 30%. By adjusting tipping fees by an additional 30%, increase the licensing fees to $400 to $500, it would generate more revenue without unfairly burdening residents. Additionally, are we still accepting waste from Amargosa, Shoshone, and Beatty? If so, are the property owners there going to pay the fee as well, or is it going to fall solely on Pahrump residents? We need answers. Where was the $6 million borrowed from the general fund last year ever repaid? If so, where is that reflected? I haven't seen it. Without transparency, we can just guess. I mean, that $6 million could help with repairs at the landfill. Before increasing property taxes, we must explore more fair options. Let's raise the fees for those who profit from the landfill use and not just because we live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. In Tonopah.
My name is J6, last name SIX. I work for Mike's Rubbish and Recycling here in Tonopah, and so I wanted to just touch base on a couple of the things. So I noticed that it said that the Pahrump scale would not be included in this project, but there is a scale project that was working on the Tonopah landfill here as well. I was wondering if that was still going to be on hold in means of figuring out this deficit issue first, or if that is still in the work. And then secondly, I would just like to say from the tip scale and the fees out at the dump side of things, I think a lot of what from the hauler side of stuff, it goes into it is a lot of this cost should fall to the commercial side of stuff. I don't think a lot of the cost that they're talking about pulling up with that $5 fee is going to fix a terrible amount of like the deficit if you look at the 67,000 residential that is stated in there. But I think a lot of it is going to come from that that commercial side of stuff where it bases on the progressive scale. So I don't think a lot of the county stuff is going to be what is the issue, kind of in response to the last speaker. But with the questions on that, so the Tonopah scale project, when we dump per what we dump right now, it's charged with cubic yardage, which is a very variable rate. A cubic yard of trash for municipal solid waste can weigh anywhere from 150 pounds to 900 pounds, depending on what the material is and the water content and stuff like that. So I think having those scales input would be a more reliable way to accurately track and report who is putting what amount of material that needs to be managed, and it would be a more accurate reflection of who's using the dump and who's costing the dump what money going in. So I think the faster we could get that done, that would be a huge benefit to all of the residents and a lot of the county with trying to save a little bit of money on that. Last, what was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah, a big one too would be a lot of the dump fees that we pay throughout the year, because we're charged the $7.50 per cubic yard of what we dump. That falls specifically to commercial customers. As it sits right now for household waste, I'm just curious if this new proposal would be charging household waste to go in as well, because as it sits right now, unless it's out of county household waste, so for like Loves or stuff like that, we dump, but that is charged at an out of county rate. The in-county rate has not been charged for a lot of residential customers. I'm curious if that would increase or if that would begin with this new proposal.
Thank you for that. Do you guys want to address any of these concerns? Oh, we got to close. Or is there anybody else, Sam? One more time.
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. And speak and spell your name for the record.
Yes, hello. This is Caroline Logue, and I want to just
please spell your name.
Interject that again.
Caroline?
I'm sorry, Logue, L-O-G-U-E.
Thank you.
And you're welcome, and thank you for reminding me. I'd like to just reaffirm my belief that your role is to make sure that the people are secure, safe, and have all the services that will help them become healthy and also be able to sustain their home and their property and their surroundings in a healthy, safe way. Our landfill is one of those processes that we have to keep available to the whole county, which is a difficult and costly thing to do. We must look at it objectively and say that if funds are needed, then that has to be a process of the public, the people, that help provide that, or the administration provide other funding sources if it's not available throughout the local wealth of the people. So please get this decided. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost, and we need it, and we have to be sure that we have a landfill and we have trash pickup and solid waste management. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam, do we have anyone else?
No, Chair.
We're going to close public comment. Do you guys want to address any of these?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Cody McKee for the record, MCKEE, and I'll do my best to answer all the questions. If you have other questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. To start off with the landfill scales, there is a Pahrump landfill scale project and a Tonopah landfill scale project. The Tonopah landfill scale project has been mandated by the state of Nevada so that we can more accurately record the solid waste that comes into the facility, because the volume of waste determines which category we fit into as a landfill. So each category has specific requirements, and if we got into a higher category, then we would be required to do a lot more at the Tonopah landfill, for example. So the point in the slideshow of us not having costs for the Pahrump landfill scale project included in this fee increase is just a timeline issue. We didn't have those costs when we actually did the fee analysis, so that wasn't included in the analysis. So that's why that's called out separately. To speak to the out-of-county waste versus in-county waste, yes, we are charging out-of-county waste at a higher rate. For example, remember, like the Love's truck stop, for example, they would be paying an out-of-county rate for their waste generated at their site outside of Nyecounty to bring it into the Tonopah landfill. That rings true for any town or disposal service bringing waste into any of our facilities. To speak to Amargosa and Beatty, those are handled for curbside pickup under existing franchise agreements for Beatty disposal and Amargosa disposal, and those are charged tipping fees at the landfill when that waste is brought in. The franchisees actually pay a tipping fee, I believe. So, and that same thing applies for people coming out of Death Valley and getting their waste hauled to our landfill site from Death Valley.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Commissioner.
I just want to explain my vote on this so everyone knows why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't think we need you guys up here for this. It's not a question or anything from you. Thank you. Thank you both. Just so the process, and I don't think that there's anything bad or nefarious going on in the department. They've clearly done a lot of work on this. I would just say I wouldn't raise taxes, and I would be a no vote on raising taxes for this. When I had met with the department head, they were all very accommodating, and I understand why it's up for a vote. I'm not talking about that. I felt I don't poll people up here, but I felt that this was going to pass. The tax increase is going to pass. And so I brought up the idea of possibly not raising the parcel fee on people who live here and instead trying to place that need, the financial need, on vacant parcels. It's a different kind of person that owns a vacant parcel, and the fees and to carry a vacant parcel is obviously much less than a home that someone's living in. That was my hope. I'm not saying that I would still vote for that. I would not. But my fear was that there would be no direction to go, and simply the people in Nyecounty would have to pay more in their taxes for their garbage. I understand what happens in the future is set. And as I said before, my hope, with a lot of prayer and guidance and work, is to try to change that. So my intention is to try to change what is supposed to happen or likely to happen. If I didn't feel I could do that, I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't be doing this. And so I'm open to any discussions to try to change, and for some reason, if this fails, I don't believe it will. I think it will pass, and I think there is an appetite to raise taxes. If I'm wrong and there is no appetite to raise taxes, I would be more than happy to do work on trying to find some kind of alternate revenue, money somehow, or discuss it or bring it before people to prevent taxes from going up. I am opposed to raising taxes, and I've said this many times before, so I don't think it's a surprise. But I just wanted to explain to everyone my reasoning and why I will be a no vote on this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, anything else? No? Yes? I'm ready. If anybody wants a motion or two motion.
Quiet in Tonopah. I guess I'll make comments. There is a lot of discussion about being a political body and not raising taxes. And there's a lot of discussion about that, and we are tasked with trying to figure this stuff out. We can't keep assuming that things are going to stay as they are and we are still going to be able to have services. We cannot assume that we can live. The last time that this was addressed was in 2007. The last raise that was gained. We're losing $250,000 a year on this landfill. We've done it for 3 consecutive years. How in the world do we plan on sustaining that? There are no grants for this. There's no other avenue for this. We have to pay our own way. And commercially, I'm going to have to pay a big chunk. Taxing myself, taxing my fellow commissioners should this pass, taxing my parents, taxing my kids, taxing my sister. It is a fact of life. If you think that $5 more on your tax bill is going to hurt you, then I feel very sorry for the circumstances that you're in. But this county cannot sustain without raising taxes when it's a need of the people. I really love what Ms. Logue said. It is our job to make sure that we have these facilities available. So I will make the motion and see if I can get a second. I make a motion to adopt Nyecounty Resolution number 2025-01.
I have a motion on the
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. If there's nothing further, I'm going to call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Votes aye.
What? Commissioner Jabor or?
No.
Bain is a no. Commissioner Jabor, did he vote?
I just
I
think
did. It's 4-1, Chair.
until we hear from you,
It
it's
passed
3-1.
4-1.
Oh, I will vote nay then. So that motion carries 3-2.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, moving on. Number 13, please.
Item 13, general public comment, up to 3-minute time limit per person. Public comment will be for all matters off the agenda. Action will not be taken on the matters considered during this period until specifically included on an agenda as an action item.
In Pahrump.
Karen Waldman, W-A-L-D-M-A-N. I just would like to have, I don't know who's responsible for this, but we had the 911 service go down again. And it seems like nobody's addressing it, and it does not take, I don't know how long it was out this time, but it seems to me that there's no plan B, there's not a contingency, and 45 minutes, if that's how long it was down, a lot can happen. A lot can happen in 5 minutes. And I would like to know what steps are being taken to correct that so that when AT&T, which is notoriously poor in its service anyway, is there not something in the contract that says we're idiots, we don't know what we're doing, so we can no longer, we can get out of whatever contract we have with them? Because there has to be a backup plan of some sort. There has to be. Lives depend on it. And I'm just aghast that this has happened not once, but twice, and maybe even a third time previously. So I just hope that someone here can help address that so we don't deal with that again. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
We'll give you some answers in a moment.
In Pahrump, please.
Diane Southworth, Southworth. One other thing that I've thought about is that I really want this to be a vibrant, great community. I want people to succeed. I want to see businesses thrive in this community. We need some businesses in here. We need something besides Walmart. We need I don't know, Target, a Carl, a Kohl's, something. Right now, if I want to buy something, I buy it online, and where do my tax dollars go? They don't stay here. So that is something that needs to be considered in the growth of things. And also, if we don't stay a vibrant community, we'll lose our children and our grandchildren from staying here. I have 2 daughters here, 4 grandchildren, and 7 great-grands. I want them to be able to have a decent life in this community. They've lived here, they've raised here, they love it here, and I just would like to see us really take an overall look at how we want our community to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam, do we have anybody on the phone?
Yes, Chair, the caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Hi, this is Tim Bohannon, BOHANNON. I'd like to do a shout out to our comptroller and recognize her work at the Debt Management Commission meeting for having the oversight or insight to plan for unexpected capital improvement debt for out-of-cycle expenditures. I thought that was very creative and wise. And this is the same type of concept throughout all the aspects that we do. Those are the kind of things I'd like to see more of. The second thing, and I know this was not on the agenda today, but this has to do with evaluations for justice of the peace. What I know is that other states do it. It would be nice to have that built in, if you will, from a JP perspective of knowing what they're, if they're outstanding, what they do, if they meet or exceed, and what criteria such as legal knowledge, impartiality, clarity of communication, judicial temperament, and administrative capacity of the caseload, things of that nature. So when you make decisions on JPs, that would be available to you for making that a better quality recommendation, if you will. That's what I have, and thanks for a good meeting, and looking forward to the next one. Bye for now.
Thanks, Tim. Sam, do you have anyone else for us?
No, Chair.
All right, we're going to close public comment and move on to 14, please.
Would you like me to respond to the question prior, or do it in the
You do it in this one.
Item number 14, Commissioner Manager comments. This item is limited to announcements, brief discussions, or public comments, correction of factual inaccuracies, direction to staff, or topics proposed for future board meetings. Lengthy deliberation of topics not on the agenda is prohibited by the Nevada Open Meeting Law.
Thank you for that. Let's start with Tonopah. Commissioner Jabor.
Thank you, Chair. I will close with my usual of protect your children, conserve your water, chip your pets, and seal your driveways.
Thank you. Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chair. I have 2 things. Thank Mrs. Waldman for reminding me about AT&T. I have my note at home. I was going to bring that in and discuss it with county manager, but direction to county manager to investigate what we can do to get away from AT&T. Not enough. Second thing is, I was apprised by my contact in the Assembly, Nevada Assembly, that our bill AB 69 was introduced today. That is a bill that will remove the prospective expiration date of Nyecounty sales and use tax. the BDRs, well, that was the old one. But we'll be following that. And I'll probably go up to speak on it when it's time. So just so you all know, it's time, it's there, it's gonna happen. We need to get that passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bain? Nothing from Commissioner Bain. Commissioner Strickland?
No, we're, thank you. We're doing some balance here. We're having some call-in, trying to get answers on your AT&T stuff and 911, but you will recall, commissioners, that last year we did appropriate $3 million to upgrade our 911 services, so we will have, basically, it'll go both ways. So if one goes down, there's a word for it. Redundancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so please, go.
I will respond to that. So it was a line that was severed by the contractor out off of 95. I will say our IT department did jump right on it. And there were public comments that were sent out by the sheriff's department, or public announcements, sorry. The 911 system was down temporarily in Nyecounty. IT had actually went out and rerouted them through a substation in Beatty to bypass that line, which put it all back online within about an hour and a half from the notification of the outage. Yes, it is being addressed, I do know. With the carrier, I will say that the carrier is actually regulated by the FCC, and they are probably facing some pretty good fines, especially with the, just recent incident as well. But alternatives are definitely being looked at, and I will ask Brad to actually come in and give a little more of a talk on that at our next meeting.
I heard a rumor that the person who severed the line left a note.
That's right.
They did. That was the comical part. It just said, whoops. No, I don't know what it said. But it was comical, and that's honestly how the contractor that was sent out by the carrier found the location so quickly. And they did get right to work on putting everything back together.
There is some, there's a problem with this, of course. We are doing AT&T's work, and that's upsetting that we don't get reimbursed. Sure, they get fined, but we should be able to be reimbursed for services rendered, and you have thought of that.
I have definitely posed that question.
There you go.
While we were amidst the emergency.
Right.
So.
1-800-DIG is called. You guys have all heard that, right? As a contractor, I've hit it a few times, and it's not any fun, and the fines really stink. But the repairs get done really quickly if you let them know. Leaving a note is not appropriate. Contractors out there, call it in, take ownership, and then they can get it fixed faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any directors, either managers on the phone or anywhere? Anything?
Yes, Chair.
Perfect.
So this is Samantha Tackett for the record. I wanted to let the public, commissioners, electeds, and staff know, or remind them rather, that we have what's called a BOCC summary on the administration's webpage. And it is a tool that we put together showing how each meeting and each agenda item is voted, and how and why and by whom. And I just wanted to let everybody know that's out there for you to research how items, how they were voted on, and our lists do go back several years. So that's all available on the website.
Congratulations, Samantha Tackett, for launching that.
Yes.
It's been a resource that we've been using, and now the public has it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Transparency. Comptroller.
I wanted to give an update about the $5.78 million that was borrowed from the grant fund from LATCF. That was never appropriated to be spent, and it was never meant to actually be spent. It was meant to be a cash buffer to hold us over for the delayed tax collection, specifically the sales tax collection that is historically always 2 to 3 months late. So we have a cash flow, and so that 5.7 has been used to actually just for cash flow reasons, not to actually spend. That will be repaid, and statute requires us to repay that within a year, and we borrowed it in April. So we will be paying that back probably after our audit is presented, that test and attest to our balances. And once that's complete next week, we will be paying that back to the grant fund. And that is available monies that the board will decide where it goes when we hear the rest of the LATCF money. Some of that has been freed up by us allocating ARPA money to something that was originally allocated from LATCF. So we still have the board to deliberate and decide on that, and that will be a separate agenda item that's coming up in the future.
Thank
Are you going to try to address that before budget or with budget? How do you want to approach that?
That has to be decided before the budget is submitted,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other directors or managers on the phone?
Yes, Chair, I do have a hand raised. The caller is unmuted. Please speak and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Brad Adams, Director of IT for Nyecounty, ADAMS for the record. Just wanted to delve in. I did hear the tail end comments of County Manager Wagner's comments on the 911 item. Wanted to add a little bit of information to that. If it didn't come up already, the ultimate reason for that outage was a contractor installing long-haul fiber that actually severed the fiber that was existing, which was also long-haul fiber. So I did a outbrief and deep state DEM on Monday to go over the details of the cause, precautions that should have been taken that need to be addressed, a better process of communication between the contractors that are doing easement work on major routes. And state DEM is in process of evaluating this and seeing how we can incorporate this into better future processes to alleviate or reduce or mitigate this type of issue and incident. So I'm available for any additional questions.
Anybody have any questions for Brad?
No, I just want to state thank you for calling in and clarifying and reiterating what had been said already. Thank you.
All right, if there's nobody else, Sam, one last try.
There's nobody else.
We are going to adjourn at 1:10. Thank you all.
We don't even take lunch today.